Good afternoon. Welcome in. It's Where the 99 Lead. It's a presentation of the University of Pikeville, talking about the University of Pikeville. And today, special guest, the UPike Director of Student Financial Services, Judy Bradley. Judy, welcome in.
Thank you, Andrew. It's great to be here.
Where the 99 Lead, we talk about those landmark 99 steps that lead to campus. And, of course, those steps also lead back to the communities. And for those students to head back to the communities, they've got to find a way to pay for college. That's what you do.
Absolutely.
As Director of Financial Aid and Financial Services at the University of Pikeville, college is an expensive endeavor. Parents that haven't encountered that yet, they will find that out. And a lot of parents and students are overwhelmed by the financial process when they see that first look at tuition and the cost involved with that first year of college. We probably shouldn't be shocked, but we get sticker shock.
Absolutely.
You take that fear away.
We hope to, and I think we do a very good job at that. We start very early in the high schools and even in junior high school, trying to prepare students and parents that it's maybe not as scary as sometimes we think it's going to be.
Sure.
But once they get through that, they become pros at it, and it's a pretty easy process after the first time.
Yeah, after the first time, and you have to stay on top of this. It's not something that you can wait to the last minute. That's one reason we're talking with you today in December about the upcoming school year, because we don't want to let things lag too long. We want to be prepared for next school year. Today we're going to talk about financial aid, and it's not just grants, but there are different types of financial aid out there. There are many different services that, of course, your department serves students and parents, as the case may be. So let's take an overview. What are the different types of financial aid?
Well, you first of all have your federal aid. Federal aid, of course, is the grant, the first and foremost, everybody loves, I call it the granddaddy grant.
Sure.
The federal grant called Pell.
Right.
That is the grant that everybody would love to have, but these eligibilities on Pell are set, of course, the higher the income, the less need. So there might be some students that would not receive that grant because it is a need-based grant. Then you have work study. Work study is another federally funded program that allows us as an institution to employ our students, and we can also have off-site locations where students can actually go to a nonprofit and work their dollars out in a job at a nonprofit agency or an organization. And of course the loans. Yes, it is a loan. It is money that will have to be paid back,
Sure.
But they are very, very beneficial for our students.
Right.
And we do a really, really good job of teaching the student that it is a loan that will come back and bite you when you're
Yes.
graduated and in your job and trying to raise a family. That is a money that will have to be repaid back to the government.
Right. And of course, financial aid, a lot of folks say, well, I'm upper middle class.
Yeah.
I'm not going to qualify for any financial aid. There's no sense going through the process. But it's very important that every student, every parent be involved in the process, because there are monies out there that you may not know are available. And some of the programs, like the loans, aren't available unless you complete the process.
Speaking from a parent that has gone through the process. And that's one of the things that I hear often, Andrew,
Sure.
is we make too much money for financial aid. There's
Right.
no sense in filing. That is a misconception that if we could really stress here in this program, you should and you must file a FAFSA. There are very few students and parents that I will actually say at our campus that will give you a waiver if you totally understand you don't want any federal money, you don't want any state money, nor do you want institutional, because we use that application that we'll talk about a little bit later as our guideline for that eligibility.
And also a new program on campus, hasn't been there that long, ROTC. There's funding there as well. We'll talk about that today.
ROTC is a great program that we have that is really increased at our campus. It's just so neat seeing all those military guys around. But that is another federal program as well as a state program that these students can be considered for. But again, the process of this application that we're getting ready to talk about is another necessary point to that money.
Talking with Judy Bradley, the UPike Director of Student Financial Services, and in my opinion, from a parent's perspective, one of the most important people on the UPike campus, because as a parent, you've got to pay for those tuition bills, and your student has to go through the process. Judy helps walk us through as parents through that process. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to walk through that process, and hopefully we'll educate some folks that there's a great need to get started early with this, to stay on top of it, because it's not like a bottomless cup of coffee at Jerry's.
Absolutely. No guarantees.
That money runs out.
Absolutely.
The earlier you are in the process, the better. So let's get started. Let's talk about some of the state monies available. Or do you want to start with the federal programs?
Well, we kind of already talked about the federal, so let's
Sure.
do a run over again on those. Of course, we have the federal Pell Grant.
Based on income.
Now, a lot of times when we talk about the application again, and it's like we're holding that as a secret, but we've
Sure.
got a method to our madness. But the Pell Grant, again, is a need-based grant, and it's based on income. It's based on household size. It's based on a parent's or a household's assets.
Sure.
So all of those things are combined. But when you do that eligibility application, those considerations that many times, and I think you've even said it to me before, the application doesn't take anything into account about what I'm paying out.
Sure.
All the bills I'm paying, all the taxes I'm paying. The application takes that into account. We just
Right.
don't see that with the questions.
Sure.
So that's a misconception a lot of times. And when a student starts looking at different institutions, there's another grant out there that kind of gets missed, and it's called the FSEOG grant. That's another federal grant that is linked to the Pell Grant. University of Pikeville is fortunate to get that grant from the government, and we accompany that to our full Pell students, so that usually those are, of course, your highest need students. But the FSEOG is another grant that, again, helps that funding.
No doubt about it.
Work study, we already talked about that. Wonderful program, and it is an excellent tool that students awarded work study can learn job techniques. They
Sure.
can learn a job skill, build resources, references for future jobs that they might be seeking. So work study is a wonderful program. I used to use it actually at the hospital when I was at the hospital for a program to assist the students wanting to get into the medical area,
Sure.
to view a job and a career that they think they want to study for.
And
Wonderful.
We talked moments ago that some of the work study hours can take place in nonprofit institutions, the medical center being one of those.
Yes.
So it's a way to get into the medical field and get their feet wet, find out if that's truly where they want to land.
Absolutely, it's worked wonders. As
Absolutely.
well as businesses like our chamber, our tourism. We've got great successes with those different programs
Right.
as well.
And then, of course, the ROTC funding, that's also a federal program
Yes.
as well for those ROTC students.
Absolutely.
And those are some of the federal programs that are available, and federal dollars are available. The University of Pikeville, it is a private institution.
Yes.
And a lot of folks say, well, it's a private institution. There aren't federal funds available. Yes, they are. So
They
we
are
put
available.
that myth to bed.
Absolutely. That myth, but it also has to be realized that those funds are directly to the student,
Sure.
that once those funds are gone, they're gone. We have a limited amount of those. Now, one of those funds, again, that are not limited are the direct loans. Those are from the government to the student through us. We're
Right.
kind of the middleman.
Sure.
Those are not limited. The students have a limited amount that they can actually take out per class category, freshman, junior, senior.
Sure.
But the other funds are limited, but that's another reason at an institutional level why a student would want to go ahead and do this application, so that the packaging and the processes that we use once we get those application results are processed in that manner, so that student can get a hold of those funds before we run out of them.
And that application is the free application for federal student aid.
Very good. The acronym
You'll learn to know
FAFSA.
it is FAFSA.
Yes.
And it's something you'll want to do early every year. We'll talk more about that in detail in just a few moments. But different programs, federal programs, a student isn't limited to just one.
Correct.
And those can be accumulated along with state programs.
Correct.
Let's talk about some of the state programs as well.
Some of the state programs, the first one I want to talk about is the CAP grant, College Access Program. That is a grant, and anytime we say grant, Andrew, that is a free money.
Sure.
Students don't repay grants, so that's the money we would all love to see students get, one that doesn't bind them down to a repayment. But CAP grant is an accompaniment to the Pell Grant. If a student gets Pell Grant, whether it's a $400 grant or it's a $5,000 grant, that student can possibly be eligible for the CAP grant through the state, but that application has to be received by the state in that timely manner before those funds deplete.
Those funds deplete very early, typically,
Very
don't
early.
they?
And that's another reason why we've moved this little interview ahead. Last year, our CAP funds in the state of Kentucky depleted by February 17th.
Wow, that's early.
Yes, that's early.
We're talking in December, so it's a good idea that
Yes.
FAFSA needs to be completed now.
Well, it can't be completed now, Andrew. It cannot start to be completed till after January 1.
Okay, are the forms available?
The forms are not even available.
Okay.
The government doesn't even make the form available till January 1st.
Mark your calendars.
Please.
Right now. Right now. It's that important. Those
It is.
monies do run out early, and we want to make sure that folks are on top of that. The CAP grant, the KTG grant. I've heard of it before.
Yes, KTG grant. You've heard of it because your daughter attends Pikeville. I will tell you, many parents don't understand and students don't understand the importance of KTG. KTG was created by the state to assist private schools like Pikeville to bring down that tuition cost that you see normally at private schools, because we don't have that federal and state funding your state schools have.
Right.
That KTG grant is only available to students at a private school. Now, what you know that you need to do, or what I hope parents understand and students, even though you may not have completed your shopping around for your school, make sure that you put a private school on your FAFSA so that the state reserves that fund for you. Whether you attend or not, you want to make sure you still can get a hold of it. We're talking almost $3,000 for free money to help bring, again, the tuition down on a private school's cost.
It makes a big difference when you're writing that tuition check as well.
Absolutely.
So if someone has UPike on their list, and say they have 5 colleges or more,
They can have 6.
They're applying for 6 schools. They're looking at financial aid for those 6 schools.
Right.
There is a FAFSA code
Yes.
for UPike. Very important, because it's a private school. Even if the other 5 are public institutions, they need to make sure that UPike is there. What's that code?
That code is 001980.
I knew that.
You did. That's great.
Filled out this form a time or two. Of course, the CAP grant, the KTG grant, those are state dollars, but also something that's very important that students hear about in their high school days, and that's KEYS money. Let's talk about that.
Okay, KEYS money, and as you said, usually in the 9th grade, they're introduced to KEYS. Very, very good program. KEYS is earned by the student during their high school years, and that is basically a scholarship that they earn themselves by their GPA each high school year from 9th till 12th grade. They will earn a portion of that KEYS scholarship from their GPA of a 2.5 or above, and then they get a bonus with their ACT score once they take that ACT.
It's a great program, and I know it's benefited a lot of high school students over the year. Now, they have to have 2.5 grade point average while they're in high school.
Yes.
They get bonuses for their ACT score. Are there any requirements on the student while they're a college student?
Yes, they do have to maintain their GPA. But the neat thing about that, you may have a student, maybe it's a freshman that's just getting acquainted and conditioned into college life. And they may have a little mess up during a semester and they drop below the required GPA. And the state's very forgiving of that. What they allow that student to do is redeem themselves. So if they bring themselves back up to the cumulative GPA required, they can get their KEYS money back.
It's a great program, and of course that's a program from state government, and it's very important. I know as a high school student, students will get updates periodically of what their KEYS money would be once they hit college, and it's been a few years since I've been involved with that directly, so I'm not sure exactly what that is, but it's a great part. And high school students and parents, they know about that.
They know about that, and if I could, Andrew, a lot of students coming into me at college level don't remember how to access that. So if I can, hopefully by now the parents or students are taking notes of this presentation. If they would, write this website down. It's kheaa.com. And that's your state agency that is awarding the state grants and the KEYS. Students can go out there, they're 10th grade, 11th grade, and we do suggest that they check that account before they graduate high school to make sure that all those GPAs are correct for each year of high school, make sure their ACT score that they've, the last one maybe that they've taken, to make sure that the state has all that correct information before they start going out to the colleges and trying to utilize that money at the college.
Talking with the UPike Director of Student Financial Services, Judy Bradley. We talk about financial aid and the upcoming school year, your FAFSA information. If you're a parent or even a high school student currently, something very important to talk about, and it's something to be aware of. These many programs are available because I think parents of high school students, they understand that they have to take part in financial aid.
Yes.
They have to meet the end of paying for college. And I'm not sure they understand that there are this many programs out there. I didn't, and I thought I was well educated on the process, but I didn't really understand the many programs that were out there, such as the KTG grant. It's one that I learned of once my first hit college, and you get an idea of what that is. Federal money, state money, they're out there, but also at UPike, there's institutional money.
Absolutely.
Let's go there.
Okay. Let me say one more thing about the KTG grant. That's the grant that slips in on a lot of people. The ones that we talked about earlier that said, I make too much money, I'm not eligible.
Sure.
That KTG grant, remember me saying the cap was linked to the Pell Grant?
Right.
KTG grant is not. As long as a student displays need, and believe me, with the calculations and the ratios that we use at a private school to determine need, most students have need. So that, again, is almost $3,000. That's so important to students.
And it's a little bonus that you're
Absolutely.
not expecting as a parent
that
who's
little
getting right
surprise.
that check. There's a little surprise
There
at
you
financial
go.
aid. State money, federal money, we've got to have those. And then, of course, institutional money. With a private institution, we talked about that sticker shock earlier. And sometimes that sticker shock, parents say, we can't afford that school. It's a private school. It will be too expensive. The KTG grant helps with that, but also some of the institutional programs.
We do have many institutional programs that I am just so pleased to be a part of. President Patton changed a lot up on the Hill, and one of the most wonderful things that we have seen in financial aid is a program called Pikeville Promise. Andrew, that has been tremendous, and I promise you, I have students leave my office in tears, and parents leave my office in tears, but they're good tears.
Right.
Kind of like the KTG comment that you made. Pikeville Promise is that extra little thing I can pull out of my pocket.
Right.
And what that basically is a program that is need-based. Now, we can't award that without the determination from the FAFSA, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But those are for our students that we've committed to in our mission that are the more needy students, those in Appalachia that need that special encouragement and the ones that we want to help. But a lot of it are those students that are full Pell eligible. They have filed the FAFSA on time to be received by the state. They get CAP, KTG, and full Pell. And we will add to their institutional academic if eligible and guarantee tuition with Pikeville Promise.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
That is tremendous.
Big deal. And, of course, that's a great program, the Pikeville Promise. I think most of us know about, if we're sports fans, we know about athletics, and you hear all this talk, well, so-and-so signed an athletic scholarship. That's an important part of the process as well.
Very important. Majority of our students are on an athletic scholarship. And, of course, athletics is based through the coach on a skill of that particular athlete. And not only that, we look at their academics. If we have an entering freshman, we will look at that ACT score. That's been another change that we've made in our academic guidelines. We used to look at their GPA. We used to have programs for the valedictorian and salutatorians. Now we look at that ACT or the SAT. We do a conversion there. But we award academic money, and then, you have a student athlete that is a good academic and athletic person. They can get both.
Sure. And again, the many programs that we've talked about today, you don't just get one. These are all multiplied, and I would imagine by the time your department comes through with this, a student may utilize many of these, 6, 7 of the different programs, and it's all brought together for the full funding package.
And that's something that we've prided ourselves at University of Pikeville in doing, is to put a comprehensive program or a package together. Many times students will say, what is a financial package? I think they're looking for that Christmas package.
Sure.
But it is the combination, again, a lot of what we've talked about. We do limit the supplemental scholarships that we have institutionally. And those supplementals could be a choir, a vocal. I know you've seen our performances of our pep band at the different athletic contests. Those kids are there they're doing a job, and they're earning their scholarship for that job.
And, of course, with those scholarships, academics based on test scores and academic performance, athletics, there are also supplemental scholarships available through the institution. But an important part of funding that some parents are aware of, if they've ever Googled college scholarships, they've come across some outside scholarships that are available for their students as well. How many students actually utilize those?
We have a lot of students with outside scholarships. It is amazing. I get probably calls on a weekly basis asking for where can I look for additional money. Google is a great place. I laughed one year. I do presentations of this actual application at our high schools. And one of my high school counselors said she just randomly Googled brown-eyed, brown-haired students.
Yes.
There's scholarships for everything.
There are.
But, time is of the essence. Yeah. When you go out on the internet, these are nationwide, sometimes out of the country type scholarships that everybody wants. So it's time to do that as a senior in high school, to get active on that.
Outside scholarships available, and one source to consider the parents' workplace.
Absolutely.
What their career field is, because there are many scholarships available based on that certain industry.
Yes.
That are available to
students. And maybe even that specific company might have some.
Sure.
Fastweb.com is another really neat place for students, even current college students, to go and look for those types of outside scholarships. And don't forget our local, you've got your Targets, your Walmarts. A lot of those type of companies give scholarships. And yes, your student may need to write a 200-word essay. But
deal.
They're used to that. They've done that with their portfolios in high school.
Yeah, that 200-word essay could mean thousands of dollars in a college career. And I know one of our local insurance companies, they pride themselves in some of the scholarships that they award on an annual basis. So there are many different places that you just ask the question, maybe to your insurance agent, maybe to your place of employment. There may be money out there. Outside scholarships, inside scholarships, you call those institutional scholarships. State money, federal money, and also vocational rehab. There's a lot of dollars out there through vocational rehab.
And vocational rehab, it's my understanding, they contact students and parents while they're in high school. So that student already knows if they have maybe a diabetic issue, or we've even got some students on vocational rehabilitation that might have had a sports injury and they've received a meniscus surgery. Is that a proper word for?
It works for me.
I'm not talking for the med school.
I'm
but
not
basically,
an MD. We'll call somebody from the from one of the DOs. We'll have them in.
But basically, we've seen some kids like that. We have a wonderful vocational rehabilitation office here in Pikeville, but we do see even voc rehab money come in from out of state and from out of other areas. So it's important that they check that. I know we go in a large area with this broadcast, but it is important to check their vocational rehabilitation office. And again, that application needs to be received, and that office will also ask for those results.
We're in the month of December. A lot of us are receiving our 2012 calendars, whether it be our handy pocket day planners,
telephones,
our desk,
iPads,
whatever. I would recommend that if someone's tuned in today and they've got a college student, maybe they are a college student, they're going to be a college student.
We don't want to forget our current college students.
College students.
Many times our current college kids, we have hammered this in their heads as a senior in high school. They remembered it, they did it, they had somebody in high school helping them, parents were in tune. They turn sophomore, second year, and they forget all about it because they're away from home. Things are different.
Sure.
So it's very important to remind our current students, whether you're at UPike or wherever, to remember to renew your FAFSA.
We're talking about the 2012-13 FAFSA.
Absolutely.
Talking with Judy Bradley, the Director of Student Financial Services at the University of Pikeville. And now we're going to talk about that application that we've talked about.
Wonderful application.
It's the free application for federal student aid.
Yes.
But it means so much more.
It does. And one of the misconceptions about that, The first thing that I want to stress is this is a free application, Andrew.
Does it cost a dime?
Not a dime. One of our dear friends that we worked together with at the bank, he was very proud of himself because he knew my career now, and I saw him at one of the schools when I was presenting. He said, "You're going to be so proud of me," because he had his FAFSA done before the first of the year.
How about that?
And I said, "Are you sure?"
Uh-huh.
Come to find out, he paid $89.99 to get that application completed. There is a website out there, and I'm not going to repeat that, but
Please
if you
don't.
want to pay, you can pay someone to do that application for you. And that's been my commitment by going to all our regional schools and doing presentations like this so that all of the student body, all of the parents and students wanting to go to college understand this is a free application.
Yeah.
And it's much easier than it has been in years. I used to carry boxes around of the physical paper applications. Now you can do it online.
You can.
And it is not just for federal money.
Yeah. I'm going to look at this camera. I have one student still in college. I've had another. It's not that difficult. Don't pay someone to do it for you. It really is a simple process these days. If you filled out many types of applications, it's not that big a deal. It is that important.
It is that important.
And you need to get there early because also a part of the process is the PIN application. And it's a very important part of the process because you have to be able to digitally sign when you do those things online. Very important.
We're as a community of electronics, we are all used to those electronic signatures. And so that is a link that you can get straight from the FAFSA website, or you can go straight into that website, very easy to remember, pin.ed.gov. So that's the key there. Anything you do with this FAFSA process ends in ed.gov.
You got it.
That tells you that's the government's website.
Absolutely. And it's a PIN that the student and the parent will each have a PIN.
Yes.
And they will take those with them throughout the entire college career.
They
don't change.
PIN stands for personal identification number.
Got it.
Very, very important number that be kept secure as well. And truly, it doesn't need to be both parents to have a PIN.
Right.
Just one parent signature is all that's required.
Sure.
But there's more things that we can talk about later, I think, with that PIN and the importance. But right now, let's talk about just signing the FAFSA form.
Absolutely. And of course, that's what it can be used for. You've got the PIN. Now you can file electronically with the FAFSA document. What are some typical questions on that application?
One of the first things that I hear, though, before we get into that application is, when can I do it?
Sure.
And again, I want to reemphasize, you can't complete the application until after the first of the year. You know, Andrew, I had a lot of kids come in this past year, and they're very proud because they stayed up after celebrating New Year's and got their FAFSA done before they went to bed.
Very good.
So I was very proud of them. You know, that might be something you want to make as a part of your New Year's party.
Sure.
But basically, we laugh with that one. But basically, some of the common questions that the student and parent, of course, need to understand is those demographic questions, the household address where that student lives, just general information as far as date of birth, social security numbers for parents. And, the number one question of confusion that I'm seeing now is students a little bit confused about what parents to use. You might have a situation of a divorce.
Sure.
And little Johnny lives with mom and stepdad. That's the parents that you will actually submit as the father/stepfather. You don't need to add in the biological father into that household.
Okay.
That's one of the common mistakes that we see. And, of course, you're going to vice versa that with a father and a stepmother. But you do want to use that parent set in which the child lives over 50% of the time.
And, of course, with the FAFSA, you have to include wage information. And would that be W-2s, federal tax, those figures, whether you filed your taxes or not?
Absolutely. That's one of the other misconceptions is students and parents think they can't file this unless their taxes are done. Well, we're requiring or asking our students and really encouraging those freshmen coming into whether it's University of Pikeville or another school of their selection to get this thing filed by January 15th.
Martin Luther King Day.
Martin Luther King Day would be great. We need to realize we're not going to have those 2011 taxes done.
Sure.
We're not even going to have the W-2s received from our employers.
Right.
So my recommendation, look at your last pay stub that you anticipate. Add that last pay stub because you're going to hopefully have 2 more weeks left in the year. Or one of the very simplest things to do is compare your income to what you made in 2010. Use your 2010 federal return, complete the FAFSA questions based on that. But there's one option that you want to change. You want to say you will file your taxes.
So
instead
FAFSA
of they're
then will
completed.
Follow once you do file.
Yes.
There you
now,
go.
there's a new thing out there this year, and it's an IRS link. The IRS and the government have worked on this for, gosh, I want to think at least 3 years that I know of. And this is a wonderful tool, but it's not quite going to be helpful to us in Kentucky because our state funding is running out so early.
Sure.
And that IRS retrieval tool can be used when, say, the parents get their taxes done for 2011. Let's say it's as late as May. They can go back out on the FAFSA, say they want to do a correction, and they can actually, from that FAFSA website, pull in their IRS information that they have then completed, and it'll download into their FAFSA. Don't even have to manually answer the questions like you used to.
Yeah, certainly changing and changing for the good. We're just about out of time.
Okay.
We could use another show, and we will, coming up very, very soon in the spring. But right now, our focus, the FAFSA form, it's important to all students, all parents, incoming and
Returning.
current students as well. Whether they be incoming as a freshman or a transfer student. If someone's at a school now and they know they're going to be transferring to the University of Pikeville, we want to encourage that as well. After January 1st, FAFSA, and the website is FAFSA. FAF.ed.gov.
Yes.
So we want to make sure they go there.
Right. And you can actually access your PIN website from there, but it's very, very important to get those PIN applications on file, and they can actually do that right now, Andrew. I really suggest that they get their PIN numbers, both student applying and a parent, so they can have that. Basically, the government runs that PIN through a security check with Social Security.
Right.
So it's important that they get that completed before they want to make that application. So they can do that before January 1st, but the actual application cannot be filed till after January 1.
If someone's tuned in to this program and they have questions about who needs to file, I live with my parents, I don't live with my parents, I won't be living with my parents, those type of questions, someone in your department could answer those questions, couldn't they?
We take pride in that, and I'm so thankful that my administration at UPike allows me to do these programs because, yes, I want everybody to come to Pikeville, but it's important that we help our region get this process started. They can call. Can I give you a phone number?
Sure.
If you have questions on just the process, maybe they've missed half of this presentation, call 606-218-5254. and just ask for any one of our counselors in financial aid, and we can walk them through that process.
And, of course, that website, FAFSA, FAFSA.ed.gov, very important. The UPike Federal School Code is what?
001980.
Got to remember that as well. And Judy Bradley, the Director of Student Financial Services at the University of Pikeville, a lot of great information, a lot covered in this half hour, and we may have missed some information, but you're always there, someone in your department to help out with the financial process. And it's, for some, it's the most important process of taking care of college because tuition is a big deal.
You got to know how you're going to pay for it.
You have to know how you're going to pay for it. This lady right here can help you. And I know you've got a great group of people around you as well.
I do. I appreciate them. They're wonderful. Hardworking, very hardworking.
Judy Bradley, we appreciate all you do at the university.
Thank you.
Judy Bradley, Director of Student Financial Services at the University of Pikeville, where the 99 lead, taking students up those 99 steps and sending them back out in the communities. That's where the 99 lead. For Judy Bradley, on behalf of the University of Pikeville, I'm Andrew Joyce. Good afternoon.